Alright, so this is actually one of our previous builds. Again, we do have a PC version and a VR version when we did our development. This is actually our third build that we used and tested. So you can see some of the layout is kind of different. Now, when we did our back and forth with our developer for about 7 months of development for the whole thing, including the arts, the programming, and the testing and stuff, we had about 10 to 12 actual builds, and it differed quite greatly. Well, at least in the beginning. So in the beginning, the environment looked pretty different. Even the UI, you can see here, this lab that we didn't have now, or we don't have right now, and the vertical layout of the wall of elements. Everything's that's all unlocked right here. So the sound effects really the only thing that kind of stayed consistent throughout. That's because it was already pre-approved by our side, which we controlled the art and created the art and all the graphic elements in this VR project. So you can see even the gaze points, it was initially yellow, now it's kind of cyan. Yeah. So this was one of those test renders or test videos that we use as well during pitching and all those other sessions where we showed it to other people and they don't have a VR device, an exhibition, stuff like that, to kind of give them a rough idea. Now I believe in this build we did not have the manipulation tools. The brief bubble that you saw initially, that was basically the manipulation element, but we did try and experiment with that, it didn't work too well. So you ended up, instead of being a bubble and you put an element inside that bubble, it kind of ended up being like a small little bar beneath you. When you swipe down, it brings up all those manipulation tools. So you can see some of the texturing that's still in progress, or something happened in the connection right there. So yeah, this is actually the third version, and it's actually quite close to the final if you think about it. We had like about 10 to 12 versions, but we did a bunch of iterations on different elements. For example, you know, having the space environment for the users, and then the main menu, all those had different iterations as well. Of course, this tree, I really like this tree, to be frank. And to have my personal take on this, I really love this tree, but it didn't work too well in the mobile VR. So we had to kind of convert that to the kind of like the reduced down version of the tree that you see right now in the VR game. But yeah, this is cool because I actually get to climb that tree. Pretty awesome. This is an existing version of the fire element. I didn't like this too much, so I basically gave some notes back to the artist that worked on it to basically kind of, you know, make it a little bit more realistic looking instead of this similar texture. Now the particle elements in VR is pretty interesting because billboards are actually not allowed, or actually it's not going to work too well in VR. When you rotate around, basically it'll orient to your head as well. So we had our ways of resolving that issue, and basically we're glad that that's actually over. We might cover that in the next development behind the scenes video, but for now that's just all I'm gonna say at this point. So again, really, for those who are still confused what the purpose of this game or the experience is, it's really just up to you. It's how you make the experience, just like in life in a way. You know, if you think life sucks, then it's gonna suck. But if you think it's fantastic, then it's gonna be fantastic. So it is how you make of it. We are adding in more purposes and goals into Create, but at this point, for the MVP, or for the very beta minimal viable product, this is what it is.